Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope that you are all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. So I recently saw a post come up on my timeline, and it got posted by Ali G. And the post is the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse's reply to a question asking what role can XRP and the XRP ledger play in alleviating a liquidity crisis. March 11th, which I did report on by the way, Federal Reserve shuts down BTFP, the Bank Term Funding Program, effectively stopping new loans from being issued, could instigate a domino effect liquidity crisis. And then also March 17th, SEPA goes live, activating cross-border instant payments. And then also March 20th, FedNow goes live, activating instant payments. Timing definitely is something to watch for, but regardless, listen close to this clip, and then we will talk a little bit more about it.
I love the easy questions.
You might not love this one.
Uh-oh.
But I'd pay all my XRP to have you answer it. Maybe not really. With Ripple focused on providing on-demand liquidity, and the world facing what's probably the biggest liquidity crisis ever, what role do you see XRP and XRP Ledger and similar technologies playing in alleviating such a crisis?
Well, so if you think about what causes those kinds of crises, one of the dynamics, and by the way, there's lots of inputs into a crisis like that. One of them is friction. One of them is time. If you can reduce friction as measured by time and cost, that's good. That's just a good thing to minimizing, the risks of liquidity issues. I don't pretend that XRP is a panacea for all of these issues. What I do believe is if we can successfully integrate into the existing system, we're going to more rapidly bring the benefits of these technologies to a much, much, much broader audience than if we try to circumvent the system. So I've been incredibly pleased by the engagement we've had, ranging from the IMF to central banks, and look, Ripple's going to continue to work with those players. That's part of why we made the announcements we made this week about expanding, or really creating our presence more concretely here in Washington D.C. And I'm optimistic that if these technologies continue to propagate across correspondent banking, but other industries, that's going to be good for any liquidity crisis.
Linda, Zhang.
Now, mainly the thing to focus on here is what he did mention around friction, cost, and speed. As we really look at liquidity crises, the big issue right now is liquidity is constricting. Around the banking sector, liquidity is still rough. For the most part, when we really look at what's happening around instant settlement, I do think that this is going to provide even more pressure for the banks. It's also the number one reason why the banks are so against Basel III. Basel III constricts liquidity even more. So you do have major problems happening around the banking sector. But regardless, right, the number one thing that I've been focused on, especially in terms of instant settlement, is this. So I put out a post and I said bank collapses happen quickly in the traditional world. With settlement speeds getting faster over time, the big thing everyone should focus on is how much pressure this will put on banks. Increase settlement times, increase the rate at which a bank collapses too. This could be a big problem unless we have something unlocked or unlocking trapped liquidity or providing adequate amounts of liquidity when needed. We are getting closer to the global system realizing faster settlement times at a time when it feels like the system is breaking down. And I do think that this is exactly what they really want, right? Like, they want to usher us into a new system heavily dominated by these cryptocurrencies or crypto technology, if you will, DLT and blockchain. And we know this from a lot of the documentation that we've read from the BIS, from the IMF, from the World Bank. And these organizations definitely are playing a key role. And they are working with Ripple as well, which I've outlined many times on this channel. As we look at XRP, what role does it play in terms of alleviating a liquidity crisis? Well, it's very simple, right? You don't have a liquidity crisis when you have something that is providing on-demand liquidity, but also something that is unlocking trapped capital. Guys, there's trillions of dollars out there locked in Nostro Vostro accounts. You unlock that, and guess what? You could easily, have a liquidity crisis, avoid it. But also remember what they've told us, right? CBDCs. We have over here from October of 2022, big shout out to 801_XRP. The adoption of CBDCs could come from banks. CBDCs could fix a liquidity crisis. CBDCs are an evolution of money. The dollar could be a CBDC, we said. I think the driver of CBDCs is technology, and Ripple is doing kind of like CBDCs with XRP. Now, again, do I want CBDCs? No. But I've heard many of these organizations, especially the BIS, for an example, say, hey, well, CBDCs, they could definitely advert a lot of these problems happening around liquidity, around our current financial system. So we need CBDCs. Now, again, that is the BIS. Central banks have never really helped us too much. In fact, they've never really helped us. But they are going to be the main drivers behind this vehicle in terms of CBDCs. Now, they are going to tap into DLT. They are going to tap into blockchain. But we technically don't need CBDCs to fix these problems. Just adopting this technology could easily, help with a lot of these problems that we have right now around our current system. But listen closely regardless.
This adoption of CBDCs maybe will come from the institutions, because the larger financial transfers are the ones that require most. And sometimes there's a liquidity crisis or liquidity problems that could be fixed with the CBDCs. So, and we go back, if we review our own conversation, that we are talking about CBDCs as dollar, if we look as a simple way. But the thing is, like, the technology of CBDC, of stablecoins, is like a pre-CBDC. And when this central bank comes as the support to secure that will not be a liquidity crisis, or will not be a dip from the price of the own currencies, it's like the natural evolution of this kind of money, at least how I see. And I think this driver of CBDCs will be this technology. And Ripple is doing something pretty interesting as kind of CBDC, but with their own tokens. Just to explain something pretty fast, they give XRPs to institutions through exchange, and if the price goes down or maybe up, they just fix this volatility and adds whatever is required. If it's required less money or more money, just they fix it, and you get whatever you send. It's like $1 million or $2 million. So they fix this liquidity because there is no CBDC at the moment. But when the CBDC comes, they will fix this, and Ripple will support this just as the infrastructure, So what is coming with CBDCs is a more trust on central banks, because there is a part that is decentralized on the infrastructure, as we can say XRP Ledger, the blockchain.
Now, the big thing is that, as we do continue to see CBDCs rising and rising and rising, and as we do continue to start to see the one-day settlement period becoming a much larger topic, for an example, over here, May 28th, the trade settlement period will be shortened to 1 day beginning May 28th. Big shout out to ISO 2022 for this. When we really look at this, right, like, things are changing rapidly around settlement. Things are changing rapidly around payments, but the liquidity is not solved just yet. I do question what they're going to tap into. We hear that Ripple and XRP are two main players around CBDCs, around payments, around settlement, but are they going to be the dominant force when it comes to instant settlement with these major moves happening around settlement periods? I do question what's going to be happening, because even here, they tell you this: the T+1 settlement period may benefit investors like you by reducing credit and liquidity risk. But how are they solving for liquidity? It's almost like a math problem, right? Like, if we're increasing the settlement time, we need to increase the liquidity. What's solving for liquidity? We have no answer from any of these documents. But if we go back to like the IMF and the BIS and the World Bank, guess what's mentioned? Ripple and XRP. But also, Go to Ripple's website. On-demand liquidity spans worldwide. This was back in November of 2022. They continue to push on-demand liquidity. And even here, you can see, like, it eliminates pre-funding. It increases the speed of settlement. You no longer have to pre-fund accounts. You never have to, trap capital, which again unlocks a ton of liquidity. Not to even mention that this is providing you with that on-demand liquidity. You already have the liquidity there. And then just recently in November of 2023, so just recently, Ripple Payments reaches new heights. And this was a full breakdown of how, Ripple Payments, which is on-demand liquidity, just rebrand it, continues to expand rapidly. We have here, Ripple has received money transmitter licenses across numerous U.S. jurisdictions, allowing Ripple Payments to offer its products and services within those jurisdictions. With single onboarding, customers are now able to access nearly 100% of global payout coverage to more than 70 payout markets through Ripple's international payments network. And then also, a new integration with the XRP Ledger's native decentralized exchange will buttress global liquidity options for Ripple customers, streamlining customer onboarding into new markets and improving product performance. Through newly expanded liquidity options, Ripple Payments can fulfill customers' liquidity needs on demand 24/7, 365. So as we really look at a lot of those liquidity issues happening, especially around, the traditional world, who are they tapping into? What are they going to utilize? And how are they going to solve for liquidity? Even the liquidity hub that Ripple launched, this is providing you with any liquidity that you possibly need. There's multiple liquidity pools, but also outside of the liquidity hub, you also have the AMM on XRP. The AMM on the XRP ledger is definitely going to be a big game changer, which we've just recently addressed, especially when it comes to the FX market. But the key thing that I'm watching for is freeing up trapped capital. And it's not even just to drive business growth. It's around everything. Banking, the entire world of finance. There's a lot of challenges and problems when it comes to liquidity. You solve for that, and that is a major game changer. But the question is, are we going to see Ripple and XRP tapped in heavily? And I do think that the answer to that question lies within the connections that Ripple does have already. And when I say that, I mean the CPMI group with the BIS, having those private meetings with the IMF, the World Bank, the Monetary Authority of Singapore. You got to remember, Ripple has major connections under its belt, which I've told you guys about many times. And they continue to pursue XRP as that dominant force and that significant solution around streamlining on-demand liquidity, streamlining payments, and even settlement. And we already know from these breakdowns that these companies like Rocket Fuel, for an example, are already leveraging this and seeing major benefits. Now, are we seeing this at scale? Are we seeing banks utilizing this just yet? If they are, it's not too significant just yet. It's not at scale. We are not at that point in time just yet. But things are changing in the background. We are starting to see settlement times changing. Now, this is just to 1 day. We're not talking about seconds, because then if that was the case, DLT would be being tapped in heavily, possibly even the XRP ledger, but this is just days. We're still at that 1 day settlement period. But this is just enough to put immense pressure on the traditional system. Combine this with what the Federal Reserve has done, combine this with also the fact that as we look at Basel III is definitely going to be a major problem for banks. A liquidity crisis is definitely happening. It's coming. Do I think that it's going to happen this year? I don't believe so. But I do believe that around the middle of 2025 into 2026, that's when everyone should keep their eyes open for what's happening around the traditional financial system, regardless of the time frame, because I hate giving out dates. I hate giving out time periods. Regardless, we are seeing major changes happening in the background. And it's not me trying to sell you guys a used car. You can clearly see these things happening, especially when settlement times are changing around the world. We are seeing the Federal Reserve pushing major updates. We're starting to see these major integrations going live. Like, for an example, FedNow is a massive integration platform where third parties are integrating with FedNow to provide settlement access to allow for instant payments to actually be realized in. But remember, this is just domestic initially. International payments happen later. But we are starting to see major changes happening. Focus on the big picture. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.